Welcome everybody to Tea with a Druid. And this is an exciting time because this is the first time in Tea with a Druid that we are actually together, a group of us are together physically in the same room. So for years it's been happening. I've been on my own in my room or wherever I happen to be, and I've had such a strong sense of awareness of the group of us being together, but physically that hasn't been the case. So this is a first. So it's lovely to be with you. And we're meeting at around lunchtime on Monday the 5th of June, is it? The 3rd of June in 2024. And Kieran is very kindly filming us. And then this will be broadcast this evening at 8 p.m, the usual time, 8 p.m. So if you're watching the recording, welcome to. It's lovely to have you here. And one of the great advantages of adopting the spiritual worldview of the Druids is that you're not attached to a rigid belief in linear time. And so even if you might be watching this in a year's time or in 6 months' time or at 8 o'clock tonight, actually in some mysterious way we're all together at this time right now. And there's a way in which when we drop into that special atmosphere, frame of mind, state of consciousness that we aim to, there's a kind of peace. I mean, I can feel it happening right now, can't you? You know, there's a particular sense, isn't it? It's very mysterious, and we don't have to really understand it. But it's something about coming together. And one of the ways that Tea with a Druid developed over the years was that, so in almost every meditation that we do now, at some stage in the meditation, I invite us to become aware of being seated in the circle and then of holding hands and maybe asking for peace in the world or some other wish, and then letting go of the hands and touching the ground or returning our hands to our hearts. And we have a chance to do this now, which is lovely. So, the other aspect, I think, which would be really interesting to explore is, of course, the interactions. It's pretty one-sided, Tea with a Druid, because I've got the mic, but people do comment, and it's lovely to read those comments. And despite that limitation, there is a sense of community here. And let's just now tune in to how we're feeling. Drop into that space or that depth. And then just ask yourself for a word that just states how you're feeling. How are you feeling at the moment? Let it bubble up. And then there are too many of us to all share. But what would be lovely would be just to go around the circle together, just sharing a little bit of how you're feeling and where you're from.
San Francisco Peninsula, quiet.
Quiet.
Sorry and excited.
Sorry and excited.
David from New Hampshire, USA, and I'm feeling really content.
Content. Lovely.
JJ from Stroud, and I'm feeling open.
Open. Great.
Sonia from Newcastle or Geordieland, and I'm feeling very inspired.
Lovely.
Ben from Dartmoor, and I'm feeling relaxed.
Rumi.
I'm Gabriella, I'm from Romania.
Gabriella from Romania. I'm saying it for the microphone.
I'm feeling at peace.
At peace. Lovely. Thank you.
Rhiannon from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I'm feeling extremely blessed.
I'll repeat them because of the mic, maybe. Rhiannon from Santa Fe, New Mexico, feeling extremely blessed.
Callum from Aberdeenshire and feeling very content.
Callum from Aberdeenshire, feeling very content. I can see, who's that person over there?
Emer from Kilkenny, and I'm excited.
Emer from Kilkenny, who's feeling excited.
Jessica from the Netherlands, so I'm very grateful.
Jessica from Netherlands, feeling very grateful.
Riju Sidda from Norwich, also feeling very grateful.
Richard from Norwich, feeling very grateful. Lovely.
Gary from Glastonbury, and I'm feeling very excited.
Gary from Glastonbury, feeling excited. Well, yeah, thank you so much. And the energy here is so strong. We've had such a wonderful weekend. And for those of you who are watching this as a recording, in this room, we've all gone through an intense experience over the last few days of a tremendous coming together. 300 of us at the Strode Theatre in Street with wonderful presentations and meditations and workshops and music, and this is carrying on into what we call the Fringe, which are our events in Glastonbury in different places. We're here in the Goddess Hall in Benedict Street in Glastonbury, and if I get out of the way, you can see how there's this wonderful altar here, and there's an invitation to light candles, and so we've lit candles for peace here at this altar. There's a beautiful atmosphere in this room, as there is a beautiful atmosphere in Glastonbury itself. And my feeling is we should let's drop into the meditation now, because it feels like we're all ready to do that. And then let's chat afterwards. So just getting comfortable in our seats, and just move around to the degree that you need to get comfortable. And then the magic of closing the eyes so that the brain rests from all that data that's pouring in, and you can just rest. Slow, deep breath in. Hold for a moment. And then breathe out fully and deeply. Let's do that another time. And then a third time. And now, tuning into feeling comfortable in ourselves, being seated here. We can just, if it feels okay for you, we can just start to open up to the wider landscape that we're seated in. So we're seated in a hall that's beautifully decorated, and in a street just a little bit away from Glastonbury Abbey, with the Tor and Chalice well a little further away. But what we're going to do is, with our imaginations, we're going to imagine that the walls and the floor and the ceiling are just melting away, and that we're just seated in a circle in a sacred grove. The trees are around us, but they're youngish trees, so we can see the Tor in the distance. And we can sense the landscape. And we can sense how each of us has come on a pilgrimage to this place. So we've heard how people have come from as far away as San Francisco and Romania, from all over, to converge in pilgrimage to this special spot on the land. And for those of you who are watching the recording, you might like to imagine now that as the walls in your room just melt away and you find yourself seated in a grove, you too have come to Glastonbury, and you're with us now. And so in our imaginations, we imagine just touching the earth. And as we touch the earth, we come into contact with the consciousness of the earth, the energy of the earth. We feel how alive it is. And without trying to understand it or even put names and labels on what we're sensing, let's just sense into the earth here for a few moments. And we allow the earth to bring us a sense of stability and connection. Allowing our awareness to tune in to the healing power of the earth here. And we sense how the trees' roots are all connected. There's this wonderful mycelial network beneath our feet. This community of life. We sense the moisture in the earth, the stones and the soil. And we sense how the trees are drawing up this moisture now through their trunks. And as we sense this, we sense the presence of the trees around us as guardian spirits. In particular, the oaks that are here. We sense the presence, the protection, and the power of these trees. And then we become aware of the sky above us. And we breathe in the energy of the sky. And as you breathe in, you feel the energy of the sky flowing into your being, bringing you vitality. The energy of the sky meets the energy of the earth within the center of your being. And we become aware now of having come here on a pilgrimage and sensing just a little way off the magic of the Tor, the magic of Chalice well beside the Tor. These two hills that are so different in shape and yet belong together in the landscape. And then between them and nestled at the foot of Chalice Hill, Chalice Well and Chalice Well Gardens. And let's make a pilgrimage now in our imaginations, just travelling across the green earth towards Chalice Well. And it's different now. We may have been used to walking the streets of Glastonbury to get to Chalice Well. But now we're walking along green paths, scent of flowers and trees heavy in the air. The energy of the sun as it builds towards the summer solstice in a few weeks' time, as it's warm with just a light breeze. And imagine now that you've come to that wonderful archway that leads up to the entrance to Chalice Well Gardens, with beautiful flowers. And you're walking through this archway of flowers, honeysuckle and roses, walking through. And then gradually walking towards the well. And see how soon you sense the energy of the well, the deep peace, the energy of the goddess that emanates from this well. See how you sense it as you approach it. And be sensitive to at what point to stop. We don't always need to go right up close to holy places. Sometimes just being a little bit away is just right for what we need, the energy that we need. So see how close you want to get to the well. And when you find that sweet spot, just sit down in the garden and open to the magic of the well. O Brigid, goddess of the holy well and of the flame, may we be blessed by your presence, blessed by your water. And you might like to imagine now that you're bathing your brow in the water of the well, or drinking from the well. Being blessed by the goddess, blessed by the well. And we've come together as a group, so we sense the presence of our fellow pilgrims around. And let's just all imagine that we're touching the earth now, around near the well, close to the well, or a little further away, wherever we find ourselves. May this earth be blessed, and may we receive the blessings of this earth. And may we remember in our hearts and our minds and our bodies this feeling of peace, this feeling of blessing in the future, wherever we are, in whatever circumstances. May we be able to tune into this moment of peace, the blessing of the well, the blessing of the goddess. And may the blessings of this well and of this place radiate out across all of the earth. May peace and justice prevail throughout the world. And then feeling refreshed, heart opened, at peace. Let's just begin to very gently and slowly take our leave of this sacred well and of Chalice Well Gardens in a way that allows us to carry the energy of this place, this sense of peace and contentment in our hearts as we return under the archway of flowers, blessed by honeysuckle and rose. Carrying this contentment and peace within us as we return along the green pathways towards this sacred grove in Avalon. And we find ourselves back in the grove, seated in our circle. We sense the energy of our community, of our fellow Druids and friends. And as we do this, we start to sense the magic of this incarnated world, of this physical world, returning to our awareness, sensing our physical bodies, feeling that peace deep within our physical bodies, sensing our fellow companions around us, sensing ourselves being seated in the Goddess Hall in Glastonbury, together now. And slowly your awareness of the physical body grows stronger. You start to stretch your fingers and toes. And when you feel ready, you open your eyes. And when we started this meditation, I said we could all hold hands. And then as I entered into the meditation, I thought we're so deep in. If I start suggesting we try to physically hold hands, that's going to be wrong. So let's see as a way of grounding if we can let's just see if we can do this thing. Gently stand up.
There are sort of there are 2 or 3 circles.
And let's say those lovely words that we say in Druid ceremonies. We swear
by peace and love to stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Mark, O Spirit, and hear us now, confirming this, our sacred vow. We swear by peace and love to stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Mark, O Spirit, and hear us now, confirming this, our sacred vow. We swear by peace and love to stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Mark, O Spirit, and hear us now, confirming this, our sacred vow.
As you let go of the hands, holding hands, notice this sense of oneness and community. This is a great aspect of being human is this sense of being one, opening to this mystic experience of oneness. Then squeeze the hands to either side gently, and let them go, and then let your hands drift up to your heart. And then the other mystery, you are unique. Each of us is one. A whole universe within ourselves. Unique. Whole. Paracelsus, the great alchemist, said, within every one of us there is a heaven whole and unbroken. Pointing to the mystery that even though life can often break us in so many different ways, even so, deep within us is a heaven whole and unbroken. So this wonderful paradox that we're unique, we're individuals, and yet we can also open to oneness, to be together. Deep breath. And then let's sit down. I think there's a book called After You've Said Hello, Then What? It's often how it feels after a meditation like that. It's like after you've been in that state of mind. Do you feel that? Is that yeah? It's like it's hard to.
There's a lovely cartoon of two monks, an old monk and a young monk, sat on a bench, and the young monk says to the old monk, "Is this it?" Yeah, this is it.
That's it. That's it. Is this it? Yeah. The paradox that we're striving for something. I mean, we've all made an effort to come here. If it is so easily obtainable, and it really is it.
Merry thisness.
Sorry?
Merry thisness.
Merry thisness. Yes. If then why have we bothered to get on planes and trains and boats and cars? So there's something about, on the one hand, and I think it's always really good to hold these sort of tensions or these paradoxes. On the one hand, there's obviously great value in making an effort. I mean, I guess we're all pleased that we made it here, and made the effort and strove to be here. And yet we can also experience this deep reality of not needing to strive, and that it's always accessible to us. So what should we talk about? In Tea with the Druid, as you know, I tend to talk about something for 10, 15 minutes, then we have a meditation for 10, 15 minutes. That's the sort of formula. And is there anything anybody would like to say at this stage? Kira, there's a couple of hands, yes.
A lovely sense of belonging to something.
Belonging, that sense of belonging. Yeah, that's really great.
I think what you just said is something I reflect on myself at times, and I think is like, well, I forget that place is there, and I need to be reminded.
I need to be reminded. Well, yes, exactly, and I think that's the sort of the weekly top up, which obviously in churches and so on they sort of got that idea. And once a week, go along and get topped up. And I think there's something in that, When I stopped, I had done Tea with the Druid for 3 years or something, and then my mum died, and I really was very tired, and I went to Ireland to go on a retreat, and I wasn't sure if I'd started up again. I thought, well, I've done this sort of 200 times or something, maybe. But I started to miss it. I started to miss the top up. The it's the wrong word, isn't it? But you know what I mean. That sense of connection and resourcing and so on. So yes, so we we'll all be different, I think, in how we find that. It's very interesting to explore. Sometime we must do a workshop or a session on daily practice. What people do Because if you talk to people, people do different things. And I remember, Chris, you weren't saying, and it's a pity there isn't a sort of prescribed daily practice. You know, it would be so much easier if in the order we laid down a sort of, do this every day kind of thing. But the reason we don't is because one of the kind of guiding principles in OBOD is this honouring of our unique individual path, which changes with time, and you probably noticed that yourselves, that what really worked for you 2 years ago or 5 years ago doesn't work now, and you need to, and so it seems to me that the art lies in providing enough kind of structure and inspiration to be available to people, and then within that, individuals can find their own particular way and what kind of practices that they want to follow. So I'm just enjoying looking around at everybody, because it's when Dave first suggested to me doing Tea with a Druid, he said to me, this was about 4 or 5 years ago, and he said, I've just done this thing called Facebook live streaming or something. and he said it was extraordinary. I played some music and there were 500 people watching or something like that. You should try it. And I remember feeling very peculiar on my own, sort of talking to the world, as it were, with just looking at myself like on the screen, very odd. But I was amazed at how quickly there was that sense of connection, and so. Sorry, somebody put that. Yeah.
Sometimes we think we are at ease. Some years ago, I brought a boat from Holland to Northern Ireland, and due to some stubbornness of me, we made something wrong, and we continued to sail under the south of England, and we ended up in a storm force 7, almost 9, and the boat was only less than 10 meters long, and I had to be on the rudder, and I hold this rudder, and I had to fight this boat against wave as big as this room, and I thought, now I will die. Really, now I will die. This boat was enormous, and I was so exhausted. In 1 week I lost more than 3 kilos. Yeah, but I survived, and at the end I was laughing about it. Yeah, we at ease, and now I'm here, and I'm sitting in the same kind of hurricane. But now some hurricane of life.
Yes. Say about that hurricane. Do you mean for you personally, or are you talking about the world?
No, for me personally.
For you personally, yeah. And yet, are you able to access? Because when we go through hurricane times, it can sometimes be difficult to access that kind of still center of the eye of the hurricane. Yeah. Are you able to?
I have said already to my friend, I think I should go home. But I'm still here. Yeah. And every night I'm in bed and I'm laughing about those things, and I said, hooray, this is a good life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Somehow the art or the ability to access that place of, what do we want to call it, the divine.
Whatever you know.
Whatever you want to name it, the source, deep calm.
It's magic.
It's magic. It's magic. It's the art of magic, and it's an aspect of the art of magic, and it's probably one of the most useful abilities in life, I think. And I just feel very blessed that I learnt that when I was quite young, so that amidst stresses and difficulties, I've been able to access it. Because in my experience, when I can't access it, it's tough. Things get very tough. Whether it's physical stuff or emotional stuff, it's really hard. So that's why I don't think that this work is selfish or what's the word, narcissistic.
Not at all.
I don't think we're all on a there's a critique of this kind of work that we do, which is that look at the mess out there in the world, and you're here going on, so look at, get out there, and I absolutely don't buy that, because it's, the best analogy is, the goose that laid the golden egg. is you have to take care of the goose in order to be of use in the world. And I know I can be of more use in the world if I'm feeling connected and,
I have 3 kids and they say, Dad, you're crazy.
You're crazy.
But
Yes.
still they come to me and ask me for advice.
Yeah, because at some level they know that connection. Exactly. Yeah.
I think, Philip, it's both and I think people make the mistake that I've been accused of being individualistic because I'm talking about praying, for peace within before we start looking for peace outside us.
Yes.
As if you have to wait until you're completely perfect and to help the rest of the world, and it's not. It's both and, but it has to start with yourself. Everything has to start with yourself. Your day starts with you, and then you go out your door, and then you engage.
And then you engage.
And it's both and.
It's both and. Because the interesting thing about the human being ourselves is that if we attempt to achieve a state of pure consciousness, and whatever we might understand by that, but in other words, if we let go of our attention and attachments to our body, and then to our emotions, and to our mental state, our thoughts and constructs, by doing whatever practice that we follow, so that we're just abiding in consciousness, that brings an incredible sense of peace and connection to the divine and all the rest of it. But we can't stay there forever, because lunch will call, breakfast will call, or in my case, Stephanie will call. And so we as incarnated beings also we have this at the heart of who we are as divine beings. We are both people who are beings who need to simply be and rest in being. Also we're doers, we do, which is why the will is such an important function that tends to get kind of not really given sufficient attention in psychology, for instance, but the function of the will, and then that points, if we look at it from a kind of Druidic perspective, then that becomes very interesting, because first of all it says, okay, there's the way of the mystic, which is to achieve union. The mystic, that's the whole point of the mystic path, is to achieve union. And when we're tuned into that, we might get that feeling, I really want to just live in a cave, or maybe I should go live in a monastery. Now, I'm not sure it's occurred to all the men in the room. They want to go live in a monastery, and maybe, I don't know, there's a silly joke in there somewhere, I won't go there. But it occurs, when life gets tough, you think, I'll just check out. And then I have a friend who went to the, Mount Athos, which is, women can't go there. Yeah. It's like, and he said the guys you meet, they're extraordinary. They're escaping from all sorts of things. You can imagine all the sort of stuff they're escaping from to be, anyway. But I suddenly realised we were recording this. But we might be forgiven for wanting to be a mystic, and that may well be the path for certain people. But what I suspect is that for most of us, we need to fulfill that need to connect to the divine and to simply be, immerse ourselves in being. But we also need to do and to connect and to interact with people and to be a force for good in the world, to be of value in the world, which is the magician. So that's the first, my understanding of Druidry is it's a mystical way, but it's also a magical way. So that's a really interesting distinction to look at, the relationship between the mystic and the magician. And then you think, well, how could you kind of sum that up in some kind of symbol? It's really simple. It's the chalice and the blade. Excalibur drawn from the lake of still meditation. That's how we start these big gatherings. So for those of you watching the recording, we began our time together in the Strobe Theatre just over there, and there were 300 of us, and our Pendragon, Dave the Bard, raised the Order's sword, Excalibur, and he said, behold this sword, the Order's sword, drawn from the lake of still meditation. and return to it again when our lake is stilled. And there you have it, the wand, the blade, the ability to act in the world, and then the chalice. And I think one of the reasons why, for instance, why a meditation to a well, as we did just now, can be so helpful, is because it lets us go into that mode of just accepting, surrender, being, and just because our world is imbalanced, isn't it? It's out of whack, because it's a world of the sword, not the sword taken out of the lake of still meditation and connecting with the divine, but the sword that's become disconnected from the lake of still meditation and from the feminine and is slashing. Yes.
How can you know how to balance those? How can you know that you're not using too much of the sword or too much of the chalice?
So the question is, how can you know if you're using whether you're using too much of the sword or too much of the chalice?
And how to balance it?
Yes, thank you. I think that's very interesting. These are just my thoughts, which I'll just share with you. One is that the problem with thinking about balance is that it can inhibit our learning and our growth. Because if we're all thinking about a need to be balanced, part of growth and development involves being out of balance, involves sometimes going too far. Because it's only when you go too far that you realise, oh, I went too far. That's too much for me. And you learn your limits, and you learn, So that there's part of, which is why when you're bringing up children, you have to allow them. It would be really wrong, wouldn't it? It would feel really wrong to bring up a child trying to keep everything in balance all the time. They need to. So there's that. I think there's that sort of precept maybe to hold. So not to kind of tyrannize oneself with the concept of balance. What else? Well, I think one really helpful way is to think about it in terms of our relationships with people and the way we converse with each other. Because, the way we tend not to listen very deeply tends to be the case. And, what you learn, or, one hopefully learns, is that if you learn how to listen really deeply, that's an incredibly powerful thing to do. You can really receive so, when you train, when you train as a therapist or whatever, that's a major part of learning, and being with children, that's a really, really important thing to do. And one of the things that's happened, of course, with the advent of mobile phones and all the rest of it, is kids are unfortunately less and less listened to. Because I'm sorry, darling, I'm just on the phone at the moment, and why don't you have my iPad and watch a movie or something. So I think learning how to listen deeply is probably a really good way, and because you can become imbalanced in that. And if you get a group of shrinks together, it's quite funny, because everybody's so in listening mode. I've been in meetings where nobody talks, because one of the tricks of the trade, Bo, who knows that, she being a therapist, one of the tricks of the trade is don't speak. And then that elicits, that encourages a person to finally say the thing that they were hesitant around and so on. Then you get a group of them together and it's just a nightmare. So I've just been told that we've just got a few minutes left. But thank you for that question. That was a great question. Any other?
There's a gentleman over there. You had a question, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
No, not a question. The
observation.
Yeah. No, it's letting go. It's letting go. And there was a thing about two monks as well. They're Thai monks, and Thai monks can't touch a woman.
Yeah.
Can't touch a woman. So if they're given anything, they have to put on an orange thing. But two of them were trying to cross a river, and a pretty woman came along, and there was an old monk and a young monk. And of course, the old monk and they couldn't speak all day. They could only at night time, at a certain time, they could start speaking. So they have to be quiet all day. So the old monk turned around and said to the woman, "Can I carry you across this river, this very thing?" And the young monk went, "Ah." So the old monk picked her up and carried her across, put her down. She went that way, and the two monks came that way. So the young monk is going down, going. The old monk is watching him. Of course, they can't say anything. The young monk is. So he's coming up 12 o'clock. He says, "What is your problem, young monk? You carried the woman across the stream. You touched her and you put her down. I let her go. You're still carrying her."
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So let's close. There's some copies of a book that I've done with an artist, Jamie Reed, who is a Druid, and about the seasonal festivals, and with two other writers, John Marchant and Stephen Alcott. If you want to have a look at it, it's full of his artwork. And then I've written pieces about the Eightfold Wheel of the Year. So you're welcome to see that. That's being published on June the 11th. So I'm experiencing what I experience at the end of every tea with a Druid, which is I want it to go on for longer. I do. And it is with the greatest of kind of willpower that I rein myself in to make it as brief as it is. And that's why Tea with the Druid has given birth to Biscuits with Druids, which happens in the Hearth, this wonderful online community that if you're a member of the Order of Bards, Zealots and Druids, you can come into. And after Tea with the Druid, I'm going to try, I'm not going to promise to do it every Monday, but I'm going to try and cross over into the Hearth and do Biscuits with Druids, which is why it was so nice to have those biscuits from Holland. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the Fringe. And we've made history today. We've done the first Tea with a Druid in real, as my kids call it. Yeah, and it's lovely to see you. Okay, thank you.